And so I find a problem with the Quran in that it confirms the Torah and the gospel, and it tells me as a Christian in chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, to judge by the gospel. However, Pierce, when I judge the Quran by the gospel, I find that the Quran does not understand what the gospel is.
This is Wes Huff having a conversation with PIERS Morgan about the nature of the Quran. He, as a Christian, sees quite different. Let's listen to.
The text of the Quran, like all religious texts, including the Bible, has been misused, misinterpreted, or accurately interpreted, depending on who you talk to. From a historian perspective, how accurate do you think the Quran is, for example?
Okay, so Wes Huff is going to tell us how he thinks the Quran is accurate or inaccurate. Let's look.
Well, I think the Quran has a number of problematic historical issues, the chief of which is that Surah 4, 157 denies the historical crucifixion of Jesus.
All right. So, what exactly does Surah 4 157 say? Now, it clearly denies uh, Jesus Christ as one who was crucified and resurrected, as you will see it in the Christian text in the Bible. Unlike the Bible, the Quran clearly denies that. All right, let's move on.
And so there's ambiguity as to what's going on in that text when it says that Jesus was neither killed nor was he crucified. And I think that really paints the historical reliability of the Quran into a corner. In that, like I said before, Pierce, if there's one thing that even the most skeptical scholars historically will say, if they say we really can know not that much about Jesus of Nazareth.
Who are these skeptical historians who also thought that that part of the scripture was right? Yeah, you can go further to name people like Flavio Josephus, you can name Tacitus, one can also name Pliny the Younger. These were writers who were not Christians. They wrote extensively to actually say that Jesus Christ was crucified because he lived within the Roman occupation of Jerusalem. So this is what he's referring to.
They will admit and say what we can know is that he did die under the reign of Pontius Pilate, the governor of Judea at that time, that he was indeed crucified. And so I find the Quran has a number of very problematic historical issues. And then ultimately, as a Christian, the Quran seems to talk about what I believe, talks about the Torah and the gospel multiple times, and seems to fundamentally not understand what the Torah and the gospel are. Particularly, I would highlight verses like chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, which has this chain of custody where it says that that God sent, following in the footsteps, Jesus, the son of Mary, to confirm the Torah which came before him, and that he gave the gospel, which in the Quran uses the same terminology for the revelation of the Quran, that it has guidance and light, and that the gospel preceded the Torah for instruction in righteousness. And then verse 47 of chapter 5 of the Quran actually addresses me as a Christian. It says, let the people of the gospel judge by what God has revealed therein.
So it clearly states that the people of the book, and whenever the Quran mentions the people of the book, it's clearly just saying both Christians and Jews should judge by what Allah revealed to them. Now, that is where the twist is. Yeah, the Quran itself affirms the inspiration, the preservation, and the authority of the Bible. And the Bible does not affirm the preservation, the authority, and the inspiration of the Quran. And the Bible doesn't mention the Quran anyway. Therefore, if the Quran says the Bible is not true, then the Quran is false. If the Quran says the Bible is true, again, the Quran is false. What exactly is the Quran? What is it doing? That is Islamic dilemma. You confirm one thing, that God revealed the Bible to the Christians. Then you turn around to deny it. That means you're wrong. All right, that is what WhatsApp is trying to explain here.
Being the gospel, and whoever does not judge by what God has revealed, then it is he who's the defiantly disobedient. And so I find a problem with the Quran in that it confirms the Torah and the gospel, and it tells me as a Christian in chapter 5, verse 46 and 47, to judge by the gospel. However, Pierce, when I judge the Quran by the gospel, I find that the Quran does not understand what the gospel is or says. And ultimately, I would say if the Quran is true, and I need to take it seriously to not be one of the defiantly disobedient, as it says, and I judge the gospel by using the gospel, I judge the Quran. I find that the Quran is hugely problematic historically, but also in that it simply does not understand either what the Torah or the gospel are or what Christians actually believe.
Well, if that is the truth over there, if the Quran does not understand what the Bible says, should Christians, by any means, have some kind of interest in the Quran, trying to know about Islam in general? Is the Quran lying? Because Allah Himself in the Quran says Christians should judge by their book. That is what is revealed to them, and they are judging by that. And today, the the obvious thing is that most Muslims, or all of them, think that Christians are going astray. Meanwhile, there is no particular scripture in the Quran which says the Bible is wrong. They may bring chapter 2, verse 79, giving wrong interpretations, right? Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button. At any time I drop anything, you'll be the first to know. See ya.